Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning. Has my timer started yet? No. Okay. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Speakers, delegates, excellencies, educators, ladies and gentlemen, and of course the distinguished panel to my left. Welcome to the 16th edition of SOT events. Welcome also to our first panel discussion, which is called Setting Directions for a World of Tomorrow. So the objective of this panel discussion is really to talk a little bit about some of the ideas that we will be exploring over the next 3 days. Although I know that a lot has been said earlier about the dimensions of the conference. I'm also particularly excited that we are back in Islamabad. The SOT is not an annual event that happens in every city every year. I wish we were able to do that. The last time we were in Islamabad was in 2017, and then as the chairperson mentioned in her address, the very first School of Tomorrow conference, which was called Rethinking Education, was in fact in Islamabad in the year 2000. I'm just going to take you on a very quick journey to the past. As some of you may have heard, the SOT started in the year 2000. Mrs. Kasuri mentioned that as well. Originally, the focus of the SOT was education and education only. And the audience was mostly educational leaders, heads of school, curriculum coordinators, and some teachers at Beacon House. And the focus was really to talk about teaching and learning, professional development, effective use of education technology, and stuff that was rather internal. But then I think at some point, probably it was in 2015, we came to the realization that a lot of these conversations that we were having were not really looking at the ultimate outcome of education. So the outcome of education is not necessarily just improving what is happening within the classrooms, but trying to prepare kids more effectively for the future. And that is why we then opened this up to the public. So the first SOT event, which was in fact open to the public, was in the year 2015 in Karachi. And we felt that we needed to, as an organization, we felt that we needed to better understand important trends shaping the world, so that we at Beacon House could make, adjustments to the best possible extent within our curriculum and within the experience that we provide in our schools. So that has kind of led us to the SOT of today, in which we are looking not just at education, but we are looking at the future of the expressive arts. We are looking at technology. We are looking at business. We look at media, fashion. We, in fact, are looking at the future of work as it applies to the young people who are in our classrooms today. Because that's ultimately what our parents also want. There is a lot of anxiety. We saw in the keynote address also that I think some of you might be wondering if any of us are going to be even relevant in, 2 to 5 years when the singularity actually happens. You've heard of the 5 dimensions of the SOT conference, so we will not delve into those too much. Everything is on your programs. In fact, at this point, I want to strongly encourage everybody to kindly download the SOT app. You will find that all the program, even as we make changes to speakers, sessions, everything will be on that. Now, this particular edition, as we said, this is the 16th edition of SOT events. So this particular edition is really looking at how generative AI is shaping the future, and it is shaping the guardians of the future. And when we say guardians of the future, we are not necessarily talking of ourselves. Frankly, all of us in this room are probably not going to leave this world in a much better shape than the one that we inherited. guardians of the future are really the young kids, the children who are in our classrooms. But what is generative AI? We've been hearing about it all morning. So I think that it would be useful to actually look at a kind of dictionary definition of generative AI. So generative AI is artificial intelligence that uses data to generate new content. It's a very simple but a very exciting kind of idea. So it uses existing data to generate new content. Now the new content could be text, it could be images, it could be videos, it could be deep fakes, it could be code, programming, 3D models. So effectively, it's actually a very powerful force. It is such a powerful force that we felt that it's going to have a major impact on the future of work and the future of young people in our classrooms today. And this is why we decided to make it the inspiration for this year's edition of the School of Tomorrow event. After the SOT event, this year's SOT event was conceived and curated, a new reality has been reshaping our world, and that is sadly the crisis in the Middle East. Now, the reason why I mention that is because 3 of the dimensions of the SOT event are, and I quote, an inclusive future, a balanced future, and a peaceful future. So I'm saying this because I feel that it is important that we acknowledge what is happening outside this hall, and we should maybe also try to see if some of our conversations can focus on trying to create a better future for children in conflict-affected areas as well. So ladies and gentlemen, with this introduction, I am now going to introduce the esteemed panel, who I briefly mentioned earlier. On my extreme or immediate left, we have Mr. Jamal Shah, who is the caretaker Federal Minister for National Heritage and Culture. He was also the Director General of PNCA, this brilliant facility. He's the founder of the Fine Arts Department at the University of Balochistan and Studio Gandhara in Islamabad, key figure behind Hunar Kada College of Visual and Performing Arts, and most importantly, he is a renowned actor, visual artist, and singer. To his left, we have Ambassador Mumtaz Baloch. So yes, I should mention that Mr. Jamal Shah is going to be helping us explore this idea of an expressive future, one of our dimensions, a little bit more. We have Ambassador Mumtaz Baloch. She is the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan. She is also additional Foreign Secretary. And while she is not here today in her official capacity, we will certainly be asking her some questions related to, some of her, related to, let's say, her day job. She was previously Pakistan's ambassador in Korea. She was also the deputy head of mission in China. She was the counselor for political affairs in Washington, D.C., and in the UN in Geneva, she was second secretary. So welcome, Ambassador Mumtaz Baloch. We are very honored also to have with us Mr. Paul Hutchings. Paul is the Regional Manager of Education at Google, Australia, New Zealand, and emerging markets. He's also held senior positions at Microsoft, dare we mention their name in this gathering, Samsung and Lenovo. And he's done a lot of exciting work in building strategic partnerships aimed at advancing education. And last but not least, certainly to my extreme left, we have Mr. Basit Riaz Sheikh. Basit is the founder of Four Loops Incorporated, which I'm very excited to mention is a company that specializes in the provision of generative AI services globally. So while they are based in Pakistan, their clients are all around the world. And so we're really hoping to be able to explore the idea of generative AI further with Basit. He's also the founder of Capital TV and InstaWorld. He's a PhD in computer engineering from Cornell, and he's been an advisor on IT and telecom to the government of Pakistan. So welcome, Basit. Actually, last but not least, we have Nadia. I should not have used the last but not least words earlier. So Nadia is, at least for me, my first ever AI panelist. And so we'll see today how she performs against the human panelists. So yeah, welcome Nadia. She will be activated hopefully a little bit earlier. Nadia, I just want to check if you're with us or not. She can take a little bit of time in responding.
Absolutely. I'm here and ready to engage in conversation with you. How can I assist you today?
I'll speak to you in a little while, okay? Okay, guys.
No problem at all. Take your time, and whenever you're ready, feel free to reach out.
I shall. I'll
be here to chat.
Okay. Guys, there you are. Generative AI. Acha ji, so we have 43 minutes left now. There's this big clock ticking. I have requested each panelist to start with an opening statement. And we'll start with Mr. Jamal Shah. And I'm just going to request Mr. Jamal Shah to perhaps speak about how he feels generative AI or AI in general is going to change the way in which artists, whether they are visual artists or performing artists, will express themselves and create art in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kasim. Actually, I was overwhelmed by the wonderfully detailed presentation of our keynote speaker. And it was also scary to see that, AI is going to be controlling us in many ways. First of all, I don't think we should call it AI because it's not artificial. It is the creation of very, very capable, innovative, real minds. So it is perhaps more real than ourselves. I won't be able to give technological or technical explanations for AI, but I can take refuge conveniently in the contention that art is a means of communication. And art has this wonderful capability of engaging the humankind in a very, very intimate relationship with themselves or their surroundings. And it's a relationship which is on one hand creative and on the other hand critical. Thereby the relationship encourages the man or woman or whatever, the individual, to embark upon a journey of awareness, learning about themselves, about their surroundings, and this journey enables them to situate themselves, tells them that the land that you live on, in our context, has a cultural history or heritage history of about 9,500 years if we start from Mehergarh and avoid going beyond that. there are possibilities that this land has much older civilizations which are going to be discovered in future. So if we start from Mehergarh and then consider Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Gandhara, etc., the land is full of myriad imprints of imprints left by the image makers who had, made this country their home, coming from various continents. So we are a very, very, we have an enviable cultural heritage, and we are blessed with one of the most enviable indigenous cultural narratives, which has fantastic mechanisms of teaching us how to, come closer to each other, how to communicate, how to respect the wonderful diversity that this land has, how to coexist. So in that reference, since art is a means of communication, therefore I see AI as a very, very efficient tool. And as we progress, the tool is also going to progress and assist us in many ways. For instance, I'll think of a scenario if I were to write a storyboard on a certain subject, let's say Mehergarh, then seeking help from AI, I'll feed AI with the maximum possible information about Mehergarh and request AI to write a scenario for me or write a storyboard for me. And this wonderful solution will dig into the data that, again, has been created by or contributed by our kind, humankind. So the relationship between AI and ourselves is going to remain very intimate, whether you are a performing artist, a sculptor, a painter, a filmmaker, a music composer, a fashion designer, etc., etc. And I don't actually fear it. I see AI assisting us in many, many ways, especially someone like myself who's challenged by technology always, who's lazy in mathematics, who's very, very lazy in processing the data. So I think I'll be very comfortable with the AI, and I can see wonderful things happening beyond our imagination. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll come back to art and AI in a bit. Ambassador Baloch, if you would kindly try to address in a couple of minutes whether you think AI can enhance diplomacy and or education to create a more peaceful future. Peaceful future being one of our aspirations.
Maybe I'll use this one. No. Okay, this one's working. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me here. Yes, when we talk about artificial intelligence or any revolutionary technology, when it impacts a society, it actually impacts every aspect of our work, of our life. And diplomacy is no different. There are signs that artificial intelligence is now impacting the work that we do. With the big data and supercomputing, we have seen how there have been countries which have been using AI to further their national interests on a global scale. You may have seen reports some years ago of claims and counterclaims of interventions in domestic affairs of other countries, whether it's the elections or whether it is fomenting dissent and protests, there have been claims that big data and AI were used very intelligently in furtherance of national objectives by various countries. At the same time, when I look at our job as we engage with the world, how AI can help in us working in furthering our national objectives or furthering diplomacy or dialogue at an international stage. Of course, it would be much easier for us to better understand the dynamics of societies, foreign societies, the thinking and the philosophy of those countries with which we would be engaging. It would help promote dialogue. It would help promote understanding. At the same time, I also believe that AI can help us in furthering our message, and the world is using AI to further their message, to suppress the message of others, to communicate, but also to propagate the message that you would like to convey to the rest of the world. Will AI replace our job? That is something that that every generation thinks about whenever we are dealing with a new technology, whether it was the computers, whether it was the internet, and now whether it is AI. I personally think that the importance of human interaction in diplomacy is really key. And at least at this stage, I do not see machines replacing human interaction or becoming a substitute for diplomacy or diplomats. Another important thing that I see developing around the world is this weaponization of AI and its impact on world peace, its impact on relations between countries, and its impact on foreign policies of countries and domestic defense requirements of countries. There are AI-powered weapon systems which are being used around the world. We have seen them being used over the last decade or so. We see them being used even today in the Middle East. And if there is no humanity in programming or in artificial intelligence that is powering these weapons, then these weapon systems are basically creating a new situation for us. It is this new situation because the machines are making decisions to life and death decisions. And they are making decisions about who is a combatant and who is not a combatant, and then taking decisions about killing an individual. If the objective of a machine, of a weapon system, is to target a particular people, a particular society, a particular individual, and you do not have the human angle in that, especially with respect to the human cost of war, the impact that it can have on the society, then it could be a very dangerous thing for the rest of the world. And that is why I was very encouraged with our keynote speaker when he mentioned that they are making efforts to make sure that AI does not have that human bias, and they are able to take decisions much more intelligently than machines which have that bias fed into their systems, and then they are allowed to wreak havoc on another people. So that is basically what I wanted to say in respect of diplomacy and peace and how AI can impact our work in the future.
Thank you. Those are some rather chilling examples. I guess it also depends on who's programmed the machine, and it's wonderful to think that there could potentially be no bias, but let's see if that's possible. Paul, if you would kindly comment in a couple of minutes on how you think AI could enhance rather than overshadow human creativity and culture.
Yeah, just checking. Can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. Great question. Can I start by saying, g'day, everyone. Lovely to be here. I am absolutely humbled to be on such an impressive panel, so thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, can I congratulate you on tackling a challenging question, right? Because this is such a topical and important question that we have to ask. I think fundamentally, to really answer that question, we have to look at what is generative AI, what is a large language model. So Chris talked about it a little bit in the session earlier. If we look at the history of AI, in a very brief synopsis, originally you had to essentially establish every single input that model would have. He mentioned a cat. I'd have to say it has 4 legs, 2 ears, and fur. 2012, we have wave of neural networks comes in. That's now an automated process. It uses probability to essentially build a pattern recognition to be able to predict. Large language models are the next step, and I think they are equally as important as what we saw in 2012. But fundamentally, at its core, all a large language model is doing is taking a human prompt, so something that we want it to do. It's inferring meaning from that prompt. It's going back to its enormous corpus of knowledge, and it's using a probability model to build what it is that I want. So it's really just a really advanced knowledge base that's using probability to construct it. So I think that's really useful. It's very valuable, because if I am a creator, if I'm an artist and I want to do brainstorming, I want to do rapid iteration of ideas. If I'm writing something in 15th century language, I might not even have access traditionally to the library and the resources that I need to do that study. I can now use language models or large models to support me in that. But at its core, in my opinion anyway, true innovation, true creativity comes from a really deep understanding of the subject matter. And large language models don't actually understand what they're telling you. They're using statistics or they're using probability to give you that information. Probability also means that sometimes we get it wrong. There are things called hallucinations, and I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout the conference. But fundamentally, it's about inculcating the skill set of the people that are using these models to be able to recognize that they're not always right, and to have the skill set to be able to cross-reference that information. So I guess in summary, my answer to that question would be, I think that large language models, generative AI, are extremely useful tools to aid in the creative process, but based on what they are, I don't think they will ever truly replace the domain of the human in regards to true innovation and true creativity.
Thank you. I should quickly mention that if there are any questions, I think we have a mechanism for that. You can probably give them to the ushers, and then they're supposed to show up on our screen over here. Moving on to Mr. Basit Riaz Sheikh. Basit, again in a couple of minutes, do you think you can speak about how you feel AI could be used to help people, particularly children in conflict zones?
Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. So thank you, first of all, Kasim and Nasser, for having me over on this panel. Greatly feeling privileged to be part of this panel. So one of the key features of AI is that it is extremely powerful at detecting, observing, documenting things at scale. And what we've seen in any conflict zones, that we've seen grave human rights violations all around, and the horror stories that come out there. And one way that we can imagine AI being used to help organizations to track those violations or help people out there is but through three main methods. AI through monitoring. So AI, like as I explained, is very good at looking at large corpus of data, be it text, be it audio recordings, be it video surveillances, be it satellite images. So by having these automated systems in the conflict zones and all around the world, or even monitoring what's happening online, what AI could help raise those trigger points, raise those alerts for those organizations that there are possible online abuses that are happening. There are mass refugee movements that are happening. They can even help identify mass graves that are out there. So all these violations can be tracked by putting this extremely advanced technologies, and courtesy these big corporations like Googles of the world and the OpenAIs, these models have been made available to everyone. Today, today we are using OpenAIs, or even I'm using Google Translate, but what the amount of work that has gone behind those models and the amount of money that's gone behind models is enormous. We're talking about billions of dollars. But as a user, I can just plug into the system, use their APIs to build an extremely powerful model which can detect, apply computer vision algorithms to that, and detect human rights violation there. So that's one way to help people, children in those areas. The other part that AI can actually do is document. A lot of times, and especially in this age that we're hearing about this conflict, and I spent 10 years in the US. When I look at my Facebook timeline, it represents a very different sort of discussion that we will see just looking at Pakistani media. Because a lot of my friends from the US, they have very different sentiments about this conflict, right? And my Pakistani friends and my friends from the Middle East have very different conflict, about this thing. So, and a lot of times there's a lot of misinformation. I think that is where AI can really come in, and combined with blockchain could help document that data, help produce that verifiable evidence that can actually help inform people make better decisions. And lastly, AI is really good at predictive analysis. I mean, why does the conflict really happen, right? Are there not really any trigger points before that? And there are. So by building those systems which can be on ground, detecting information, looking at those thousands of billions or millions of variables can help raise those alerts. And I think that is where, if we put the power of AI to good use, we'll see a lot more information to help aid us. So this is what my point is.
Thank you for a very focused response. I think that those are definitely areas where I hope that AI can help. Or is helping possibly in the present crisis. Lastly, for the opening statement, we have our AI panelist who we've kind of been talking about, Nadia. So Nadia, I would like to ask you to give us an opening statement in about maybe 250 words. Do you think that artificial intelligence will ultimately pose a threat to humanity? Let's see how long she takes. Sometimes it takes her a while to think. At least she's smiling. She can do it, I'm sure. Yeah. But it is an important question, I think, that we all need to think about. We spoke about the singularity earlier.
Response encourages me.
Yeah. She's thinking about what to say. Nadia, do you think that artificial intelligence will pose a threat to humanity? Ooh.
Yes. Is there something specific you would like to discuss or inquire about?
Yes, I would like to ask you to comment on whether artificial intelligence will pose a threat to humanity in the future. No, she can. She's thinking about it.
Artificial intelligence has great potential, but like any powerful technology, it's important to ensure its ethical and responsible development. By implementing safeguards and regulations, we can harness the benefits of AI while minimizing potential risks. What are your thoughts on this topic?
So I would like to know in what ways the singularity could pose a challenge to mankind. Acha, while I'm not sure if she's thinking or if she's decided she doesn't want to answer certain types of questions.
I think she's being diplomatic.
Yeah. Yes. There's a... Nadia, do you think that the singularity poses a threat to mankind? While Nadia is thinking about it, there was a reference to the singularity earlier, I'm curious to know what you guys, the tech people on the other end, what do you think? Do you think that the singularity is something that will happen? I know that the popular thing on, at conferences like these is to say, ooh, now she's saying something.
It's crucial to prioritize ethical guidelines, transparency. What are your thoughts on this matter?
Never mind.
Yeah, unfortunately, we missed out on the start of what she said, but let's talk about the singularity. I think it is really important. The keynote speaker mentioned that, there's a lot of dystopian scenarios that we see in science fiction films. And I think there's a part of us that wants to believe that, no, that's only science fiction and, something like the Terminator could never potentially happen. Of course, I don't mean literally the Terminator, but what are your thoughts? Do you feel that there will be a point where AI is going to exceed mankind in terms of intelligence?
So I might start and then hand to you, Basit, if that's okay. I think if I was to give my opinion, I think it's to start by saying, look, we fundamentally need to understand, as Nadia said, any truly powerful technology needs to have very strict and rigorous ethics and policies put in place, the guidelines around it. I think we have to define what intelligence is. I think fundamentally we have access to an infinite amount of knowledge, and the compute power that we have now to be able to do things with that knowledge, absolutely, I think there could be a point in time where the ability to compute large volumes of information will be available. But I am very confident that we, as a community, will put the right steps in place to make sure that there are the correct ethical guidelines in place.
Sure. Thank you. Basit, aapka kya khayal hai? Do you feel there's a chance that the singularity will happen?
So my point of view about this thing is that these technological advances, even like AI now, and before that we saw internet, social media and all, and computers, they've always come in support of humans. And I believe, like those other technologies, AI is going to make us superhumans, really, really smart, really, really more efficient. I don't see, yes, AI will reach great, it's going to be really, really powerful. What right now, we're just scratching the surface of what is possible, but I don't see it replacing humans. I've started to use AI in my daily life, in my business as well, and I've seen it becomes very, very handy for me. And I just want to share one example, how AI has helped me double my revenues for one of my businesses. So before, when I started Capital TV, 100% of our revenue was coming through the local advertisements that was coming through. Now, over the last few years, we focused on digital media, and that digital stream of revenue, and by the way, we got 1 billion video views on our YouTube platform, and 85% of those video views were through Google's AI promoting our content. Nobody searching for that content, nobody looking for that content, but Google, through AI, figuring out which is the right audience, not just in Pakistan, but globally doing that. So that AI, so I've been a beneficiary of AI. That AI opened me revenue streams from the US. Now 85% of my digital revenue comes from outside Pakistan. So this way, AI or generative AI is going to aid every person, every business in harnessing those opportunities that we never realized were even possible.
Yeah, that's really encouraging. That's very encouraging. I do sometimes feel that as humans we have a kind of built-in bias, right? In the sense that perhaps at a certain level we are not willing to accept the possibility that it might actually, in certain ways, surpass us.
Yeah.
But I guess that remains to be seen. I guess, according to Chris, we just have to wait another, 2 to 5 years to find out, perhaps sooner. I would like to see if we can give Nadia another try. And we can ask her perhaps a slightly simpler question. Nadia, do you feel that artificial intelligence can help human teachers in the classrooms, or do you think that it will ultimately replace human teachers? I don't know if that was simpler though, but she's now thinking about it. She probably knows that there are a bunch of teachers in this room, so I guess she has to be diplomatic. There is a bit of a lag time with the internet, but I don't know if this is that or this is some other issue we're facing. Anyway, while she's thinking about it, Paul, I know this is something that you wanted to speak about how AI can help us enhance teaching and learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something I'm really passionate about. If you look at the fact that one thing I think we can all agree on is that the only consistent thing right now is change. The world is changing. If we look at jobs, profiles, or expectations of employers, it has moved.
Hi, I am Nadia, AI avatar panelist for School of Tomorrow events.
She's gone offline.
Thanks, Nadia. So if we look at some work that Google did with Economic Impact Report, we looked at employers in Pakistan specifically and the skills that they were looking for and how that's changed. Now you don't see office skills as the top skill that they're looking for. You see digital skills, creative thinking, you see entrepreneurialism. Like the softer skills are what's in demand. There was a really interesting piece of research done by LinkedIn where they looked at the average job, so pick any job, the average job over a 5-year period and how the expectations of skills for that job changed. Almost 25% of the expected skills that you needed to have in that job changed over that 5-year period. If you were a software engineer, it was over 30%. So think about it, you started a job, 5 years down the road, almost a third of your job expectations, the skills that you have changed. Imagine you're a student starting a 4-year degree. By the time you finish that degree, the expectations of the market have shifted. I'm going to add some complexity to that. Think about the new jobs that are coming out constantly. Think about the fact that 5 years ago, no one of us knew what a social media influencer was, let alone that it could be a career. Large language models. The first published document by Google Brain was 2017. That job hasn't existed within a 5-year period. How could we possibly equip students with the skills that they need to be able to adapt? And that's where we need to start looking at resilience. We need to start looking at the critical thinking skills. We need to start looking at those softer skills and digital skills to enable kids to be able to adapt and innovate.
Thank you. Should we give Nadia another go? Perhaps we can try her one last time. And Nadia, do you feel that AI teachers could replace human teachers in the future? Let's see if it works better or if she works better this time. She always looks like she's thinking, but one never really knows. But while she's thinking about teachers, I guess if she starts talking, we'll let her talk. Jamal Shah Saab, I just want to come to you for a minute. We've seen rapid advancements in the field of the arts with AI.
But I'm here to help and answer any questions you have. How can I assist you today? Human teachers will continue to play a crucial role in education, but technology can enhance their teaching methods. What are your thoughts on the future of education?
So how can AI enhance teaching methods for human teachers? Acha ji, while she's getting back to us, we've seen a lot of art being created by AI. The kind of brush strokes that AI could potentially generate now and in the future, the precision might be able to exceed what human artists are able to achieve. And creativity, I know it's a big word, but a lot of people believe that creativity is something that can be taught. Do you feel that there is a chance that AI could make such rapid advancements in the field of the arts or even in performing arts? I mean, we've seen entire shows in which there are AI actors, that humans might begin to feel a little bit irrelevant?
Well, I'm not worried about that because, you know, whatever response we get from AI are based on our questions. We feed questions no matter how intricate they are, how innovative they are, and AI comes up with solutions. And the solutions come from stems out of the data that it can access. And the solutions are very quick, extremely, fast. So I see AI assisting human mind. The fear is that if it becomes a mind in itself and starts initiating ideas, that might create a scenario where, characters like, what's his name? Arnold Schwarzenegger appear amongst us. But I don't think that's going to happen. Another fear that I have is that if we abuse the technology, if we abuse AI, then it can create problems. And we have seen examples of, abusive minds feeding AI and using it for their very, very, base designs. That is the only fear that I have. Yeah.
Indeed, I guess that's something which remains to be seen because sometimes I see, as an art lover myself, sometimes I will see art online only to find out later that it was not created by a human artist. As you know, there are AI can impersonate human actors, and especially in scenarios where it may not be physically safe for human actors. So certainly it could replace the stuntsmen that are required in Hollywood and Bollywood movies. So I guess interesting days ahead. Ambassador Mumtaz Baloch, you had some thoughts also on how you felt AI could enhance education, particularly in a country like Pakistan. And then in Pakistan, one of the other big challenges that we have is the millions of children, and the number keeps growing. I don't know if it's 23 million or 24 million who are not even in any kind of formal education system, so the so-called out-of-school children. So do you have any thoughts in terms of what you think we can achieve with AI in education?
Well, I'm not an education expert, so of course what I'll be saying is not, perhaps not very relevant to the teachers in this room. But of course, the AI can help in tailor-made curriculum development depending on the strengths of particular students in a particular classroom or from a particular area that can adapt to various skill sets of teachers. It can assist in bringing in students who are not really, who do not really have access to the latest tools of education. But I come back to the same theme that I had earlier. Technology is just a tool for us to use. How intelligent we are will basically determine how we use that technology. If we are empathetic towards children who are out of school or who are disadvantaged, only then we will be able to use AI for accessing them. If we do not have that empathy within ourselves, we would be using all these different gadgets and technologies, but perhaps only a few of us would be benefiting from that, and a majority of people on this planet would not be able to benefit from that. So that is something that we should perhaps endeavor towards, a humane approach to education, to peace, to diplomacy. That is key, whether we are using AI or we are still using the rudimentary forms of engagement in terms of education or diplomacy.
Thank you. That's actually an excellent point, because one of the dangers of innovation is that a lot of people who were anyway left out of the mainstream are left out even more, and the gap becomes even bigger. So that's a really good point. Paul, I believe that you've done a lot of work on education initiatives. Have you personally, or has Google done any work on trying to support the 23 million out-of-school children?
Yeah, I think this is something that's actually I'm quite passionate about. So my history, I came from, my parents split when I was young. I had to change school systems. We had no money at all. And in my transition, we missed out on quadratic equations because I moved from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. My teacher at the time, unfortunately, said, "It's not my job to catch you up. Go get a tutor." She might as well have said, "Buy a Ferrari." And I just lost all interest in maths at that time. So I think about the opportunities that we have, and whether it's kids that are out of school, whether it's kids that are displaced by conflict, natural disaster, pandemic, realistically we have an opportunity, and I think we have an obligation to start looking at what we can do to support these kids. You asked for an example. I think about a colleague of mine in Melbourne, in Australia, that was teaching at the Johns Hopkins Science Centre. Now what they did is they used tools like Meet, and they were able to bring scientists from all over the world, subject matter experts, to work with their students. I think fundamentally, we know that the technology exists. We need to ensure that we've got electricity, internet access, and access to a device. We can bring resources from all over the world to support these kids. I think there is a massive opportunity, but again, in summary, I think it's on us to work out how we partner to make sure that those fundamentals are available to these kids.
Thank you very much. Basit, anything very quickly you want to add on to that, or
I think
you're good? Okay, we have one, my timer seems to have gone off over there. I don't know if that means time is over or things stop working.
2 minutes.
But 2 minutes left, yeah. So we can, I guess we'll just try to take one very quick question from the audience on the screen over here. If anybody wants to address it. Can we trust artificial intelligence in policy and decision making?
So I'll quickly take that up, right? So what AI can help us is with, present the large corpus of data in a very summarized way, which could aid us in making decision making. For example, we mentioned about the software company that I mentioned that we've been working on. So we developed a system for one of the clients where it was a legal system. They were looking through a large corpus of legal judgments in the US, where they wanted to make certain inferences while preparing their case documents and all. And what they were able to do is, like, with the click of a button, they were able to get a lot of data specific to those things appear in front of them. And with the sources, we've also seen that there's been a story where, a lawyer was preparing, asking ChatGPT to prepare the cases, and it hallucinated and made something that did not exist there. So of course, the AI is in early stages right now, so you have to aid that. But yes, it can come handy to help you gather information, make better judgments at that, like, as a supporting tool.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have pretty much run out of time. There's a bunch of questions. They're coming one by one, but very quickly, there's one: are we preparing our guardians of the future to face challenges faced by AI? I think that a more important question, which is something I wanted to mention in my closing as well, so thank you to whoever asked that question, is that are we equipping them to use AI to their advantage? I think that is the real question. And that is the reason, once again, why we've organized this particular event, or at least chosen this particular theme. There are really no easy answers to anything that we've spoken about today. I do believe that in some ways we are limited or biased in terms of what we think, because it is somewhat inconceivable for all of us in this room to imagine a time when we may not be the most intelligent being in the world. I mean, if a guy who is a Harvard PhD or whatever can be fooled for 4.5 months talking to somebody who he thinks is a real human, then I don't know what hope there is for the rest of us. But what I do hope that the next couple of days will give you guys some ideas and some insights in terms of how the guardians of our future, which is the young children who are in the classrooms, can leverage artificial intelligence, and particularly generative artificial intelligence, to their advantage. I know that most of us are now doing it in our everyday lives, but we must also remember that by the time the kids who are in classrooms today hit the workforce, artificial intelligence will have changed. It's not just going to be about, dear ChatGPT, write me a birthday invitation or something, yeah? You can probably do a lot more. The world will have changed. And so what we really want to explore is how kids in schools today will be able to use this to their advantage, because despite some of my pessimistic comments, I'm convinced that they will be able to use it to their advantage.
Kasim, I just want to add one thing to what you just said. So there's a Korn Ferry report which says by 2030, 85 million jobs will go unfulfilled because we will not have been able to get up to date with technology. That's an $8.5 trillion opportunity. And that's an opportunity for us as a country, as Pakistan, to train, educate, and get our children and our students up to date and to harness that opportunity.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so this is something that we want to see how we can achieve. So there we are. I don't think jobs are going away, but you're right, the jobs are going to change significantly. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a slightly clearer idea of some of the ideas or a slightly better understanding of some of the ideas that we will be discussing over the next 3 days. Once again, there are 45 sessions over the next 3 days. Everything is on the SOT app. You can download it on your phones from the App Store or the Google Play Store. On the same SOT app, you can also share your feedback with us and tell us how brilliant you thought everything was or not. So this will definitely help us to improve future events. At the end, thank you very much. I would like to start by thanking the audience for being a great audience. Thank you to the brilliant panel for taking out the time. I know that you're all very busy people. Thanks again to the organizers of the School of Tomorrow Edition 16, both those who are in Lahore and in Islamabad. Thank you to our sponsors. Mrs. Kasuri mentioned the sponsors, and hopefully Nasir in his closing will elaborate further. As some of you may have guessed, Google is our lead sponsor. So thank you, Google. Yeah. And UBL is also another very important sponsor. So without support from our sponsors, and there's a whole list of them, we would not be able to organize events like these. So I really thank you for your contribution. And ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for your patience and look forward to meeting some of you in the next couple of days. Last but not least, there is an absolutely brilliant immersive art display which has also been inspired by the idea of AI and technology, which has been curated by the absolutely brilliant Rashid Rana and Risham Sayyed of BNU, the not-for-profit university Mrs. Kasuri mentioned in her opening talk. It is on the, if this is the first floor, although I don't know what floor we are right now, but it's the floor that is above. So please go check that out as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.